Turn that damn juice on!
Powered by Arkansas, for Arkansas. This is Inside Arkansas Live.
And welcome into Inside Arkansas Live here on this beautiful day here in the great state of Arkansas. I'm your host, John Neighbors, alongside Curtis Wilkerson and Andrew Ellis, and appreciate each and every one of you for making us a part of your afternoon this afternoon. Hope everybody's having a wonderful Thursday, as we're going to have plenty of things to talk about today. Going to still continue to, I'm sure, discuss a little bit of the Razorback basketball side of things from yesterday, but we'll get into some Razorback football talk as well as some baseball. We'll have a little bit of Who's Our Heavy Hitter, presented by HD Roofing and Construction, our summer topics presented by Freedom Boat Club of Arkansas. We'll do a vibe check of the chat presented by our friends at Basis Health, and continue to have a lot of fun here on the show today. So, guys, it's Thursday. It's nice outside. How we feeling?
Tremendous. Sensational, John. I'm doing fantastic, man. Got to watch Iron Sharpen Iron yesterday. It took us all about 3 minutes before we got our first Iron Sharpens Iron reference, and it came from a basketball player, Nick Pringle, and not the football guys at fall camp. So I'm glad that we got that in early. It's exactly what happened. I'm in a great mood after what we witnessed, and things are good. Vibes are high.
You know, I think the reason why Nick Pringle was referencing that is because he ate a football player during the offseason. I mean, that's why he is so much larger than he appeared to be. Good Lord. Did he hit the rare 21-year-old growth spurt, I guess, is just what he's hitting right now. But I'm doing great today, too. I downloaded College Football 26. I'm one of the poors who had to wait until the standard edition was available. But it got finished downloading about 20 minutes before the show, which I was really appreciative of because, as you guys know, internet at my house is it's a finite resource. And so I was like, I really don't want this download to be happening during the show.
Yeah, well, that's what I was about to say. I was like, yeah, you better make sure that I've gotten in, because I was waiting for a text if that was the case. It was just Ellis being like, hey, man, can we start show like 15 minutes after the fact? I got to get this thing downloaded. So glad it was made in time. But yeah, I know the vibes have been high. And I know with basketball yesterday that was definitely part of it. And just, going back and hearing from Coach Calipari, who talked for 40 minutes. 40 minutes. I don't know. I didn't watch every press conference he did at Kentucky. I would be hard pressed to find a time where John Calipari, in front of media, and like if he does to a touchdown club type of group or something, whatever, but to the media, I would be hard pressed to find a time where he talked for 40 minutes and answer questions for 40 minutes. That was insane yesterday.
Oh, the answer questions is the key part of that, John.
Yeah.
Like he actually did a pretty good job, all things considered, with Cal, of staying on topic. And he went off on a few tangents. I know we're going to play one clip, but you kind of mentioned he got asked about NCAA tournament expansion. He used it to go off on the transfer portal for a stump there, but it was good stuff. The only time that he kind of lost me was when he was talking about the Memphis exhibition. He started name dropping every guy that ever played for him at Memphis and like boosters and all that. And I was kind of like, all right, guy, let's wrap it up here. But usually you just kind of throw away your questions when you ask him, because he's just going to talk about whatever he wants to talk about. But he was answering. He was going in depth. I remember his first press conference last year after he had taken the job, and it's like we got through, it was about 40 minutes that time, but I felt like we didn't learn anything. Like, he didn't really talk about any of the guys. He just got off on it. No, he was on point on this one. I think it's because he is comfortable. He's relaxed. He's familiar with his surroundings, and he knows what he's got in this team. So he actually has something to say. Last year, all he could say was, well, we haven't done a damn thing because we've been injured, and I don't even know where the bathroom is in my office.
Yeah, I mean, it's impossible not to, when you're doing that one press conference of the summer or whatever, it's hard not to have some coach speak and say, oh, man, this guy loves his team. Yeah, there's a lot of excitement. Yeah, everybody looks great. It's all a fun, happy game here. But I think there's definitely something to be said about how open, the fact they even wanted to do this open practice lets you know that they knew it wasn't going to be a disaster when everyone got in there. They knew it wasn't going to look like a disgruntled, disjointed mess, which, wouldn't be, honestly, that out of the question for a July practice with a bunch of freshmen and newcomers. And I think Cal, who, by the way, you mentioned before we started the show, John, he did some post-game press conferences this past year that were like 5 minutes. So for him to do a 40-minute press conference, now, of course, there was plenty to talk about, and it certainly had its fair share of coach speak and Cal-isms, no doubt about that, and some off-topic tangents. But I think the fact that he wanted to talk to us, the fact that he wanted everyone to see his basketball team, tells you a little bit about how they feel. And again, it's very easy to like your team in practice when you're not playing against anybody. But there's a lot of people in a lot of years past with Razorback basketball where if we had gone to a practice in July, it would not have been that smooth and that fun of a process.
No, in fact, I felt like almost every press conference we got from Cal was him kind of doing this when he was answering questions. Okay, yeah, let's get a great game. And listen, I got to go, so we will see you guys later. Like, that's how I felt like every press conference was for him, is you just looking to get out, looking to get out, looking to get out. And I get it, like with games and schedule and flights, sometimes that's the case, but it didn't seem like he was just itching to get out of there. And I think, like you said, Curtis, the comfort level, man, the confidence, the way where he's not going to be not that the media would just be like asking him these questions of like, why do you suck every day? It's, but just not having to even, because there's no question that was going to get thrown to him that was going to be some sort of uncomfortable or negative thing that he's got to speak about, or this player that's got this injury or anything like that. I think he knew that going in there's nothing these media people are going to tell me or ask me about that I'm going to get upset by, or I got to get uncomfortable with, or anything. So yeah, I'll just sit here, fire away, whatever you got. I got nothing else to do except for, go on a flight and do everything over there and try to recruit another player apparently. But still, that was just what really stood out. And I don't know. And someone I think even put it up when I commented on it about it being 40 minutes. They're like, how long is a college basketball game? 40 minutes. Cal's already in the game. He's ahead of it. I was like, man, that's a stretch Armstrong stretch, but okay.
40 minutes of hell. Let's go.
he's absolutely dialed, man. It's so true. You catch that man after an SEC road game, and we need to create a compilation. I'm sure some Kentucky fan has done this in the past, but just of his exit strategies. He'd be like, well, it's 45 degrees in Fayetteville. I got to go. It's like, what the hell are you talking? I don't even understand. But he'll get out of there under any circumstances. So this was cool, man. You catch him in his comfortable habitat, and he had a lot to say. And man, how could you not after after what we got to see there? It was cool. Here's the thing that I love that he said more than anything else. He goes, well, we could sit here and talk about it, or I could just let you guys come in and see for yourself.
Sure.
Wow. Bravo. Yeah, I love the way that sounds. And then he's talking about bringing us back in September. That's awesome, man. That's very cool. And what it tells me is, and he even said it, he was like, I'm not embarrassed of my team. He's like, I feel like we look somewhat organized in July. And that's all I can really ask for at this point. But there's just something about his demeanor, the way the guys were acting out there. And some of it's summer. So like, you're not going through the grind and the anxiety of an actual season, but there's just a level of, it feels like some quiet confidence in there that they like what they have.
Certainly so. And I also just think, like, for us as people who cover the team and talk about it, it definitely is nice to have these resources. But we've talked about it 1,000 times, the fans that get to see these things and the fans that get to see those videos that we put out and really start making their own first impressions of those guys and start forming their own takes. And I think that's the big difference. I mean, obviously last year we were so excited about the Cal era. We didn't really need any of this stuff because we were just like so thrilled to have Cal as a coach, and we love the roster he put together, and we didn't really need much to get us excited. But I think once the season started, there were a lot of fans that kind of looked around and were like, we don't know this team. We don't know these guys at all. And so I do think that it was very important, especially that press conference where the guys, you just get to see their personalities a little bit, which you always do. Whether they have awesome personalities or they're reserved guys, you just get a little bit of a feel when you see them in that setting. And would it have been cool to do the one-on-one interviews and all that? Yeah, of course. But getting those first impressions, I think, is awesome. And I think you can just tell by the reaction how excited fans were to get something like this. And again, it kind of comes back to how he said, it's not like it takes that much to get us involved. You just have to let us know that you like us and that you want us to be a part of this program with you. And we will gladly go full head of steam right ahead with you. And so I just think it's really cool. And again, I think the quiet confidence and Cal being a little bit more comfortable in his position as Arkansas's coach and him being comfortable with the team that he has. And I'm glad that they have let us in on this beautiful journey.
Dude, yesterday, I know we'll play some clips, but yesterday when the team came by to every media member, gave a fist bump and said, thanks for coming. I didn't want to do it, and I didn't do it at the time, but I seriously wanted to look at like the SIDs and everything and be like, okay, so is this a test for something? Are you guys like messing with us? Are you guys like, is this them saying goodbye because we're never going to chance to get to talk to them ever again for the rest of the year? Like, what was this? It was such a shocking thing. And, it all went into it to where, not to say that well, I got to be very specific about it. Not to say that Cal and the basketball program itself with Cal have been rude or mean or, just shutting everybody out for their own reasons. it's just been, not very accessible or as accessible at times that maybe someone likes. So that thing yesterday was such a shock where it was like, okay, is this the exception or is this going to be the rule going forward? Was this the thing that's just like, hey, we're not doing squat in the summer, so let's just give these guys a little bit of crumbs to nibble on? Or is it like, we're turning over a new leaf now, and here this basketball season, we're going to open it up like crazy to all of you media people because we love you, we enjoy you, and we can't wait to see you there. I'm wondering, I think I know the answer, but still, I'm wondering what side of that will end up being.
Well, I think it at least shows me that they listen and have some awareness over there. Because there were, a lot of things that we talked about in terms of the team connecting with the fan base and all that last year. And I think they understand that now. And I think they also understand the difference in what this fan base can be for you when they're dialed in the way they were during the, the run where they were getting back on track and in the NCAA tournament. That support can hit a little bit different, man. So I'm not saying it's John Calipari necessarily who's noticing those things and be like, oh, maybe we need to get a little bit more involved and put some faces out there more. Maybe I need to do more speaking. But he's listening to somebody, and so from that standpoint, I like it, man, and I'm happy. And it was also funny, as he said when the question was asked of him, like, why are we here? Like, why the heck did you pick today of all days to do this for the first time? And he was like, well, I'm getting ready to go recruit, for the next week. And I like doing what I did today better. So it's like, hey, catch me in a good mood before I hop a flight. And he did hop a flight. He was in Rock Hill, South Carolina at like 8:00 this morning, front and center, watching a recruit. So he is a man of his word. And for that, I'm appreciative.
I mean, it's no secret that John Calipari likes having eyeballs on him. And that's not me saying he's a narcissist or anything. I mean, he's a guy that draws attention everywhere he goes. I wonder if it's something that he never thought he would have to go out of his way to make happen, where he's like, oh, I didn't realize I was going to have to like do something to get, fans and media members and all that to get their attention. And so maybe last year maybe he did learn something from that, where he's like, oh, damn, people don't feel connected with the team. That's never happened with any of my teams before, going back to Memphis, UMass, whenever. And so I wonder if maybe that is a little bit of an overcorrection, but I also think it just speaks to the dystopian society that we live in today, that there are men and women who work in the athletic department at the U of A who are just like seething mad that we got to see practice, that seething mad. They literally woke up this morning sad because certain media members got to hang out with Coach Cal, got to see the team, and like they wanted to go out of their way to get in the way of that. Whereas you just see Coach Cal and he's like, yeah, bring in everybody. Yeah, we want to see this. The players love it too. Oh yeah, let's give fist bumps out. But it's just a weird time in the world.
Well, again, I know probably I'm thinking too much in depth about it, but going to the point you said, learning about something. I felt that way when Cal came in, and if you just put everything in together and encompassing, not saying Cal was wrong for thinking this, not saying even the U of A may have been wrong for thinking this, but when you get used to, if you're Cal when he was at Kentucky for, 13 years, 12 years, however many years he was there, I'm sure that you just get used to something. And then it's like, well, Cal at Arkansas, it's just going to be the same thing. Fan bases are a little similar. They're, in the South or Southern basketball schools, they're all these things. So we'll just kind of do maybe some similar things and it'll work out. The tip-off tours, which I think in theory and in ideas were great as far as doing them, but the attendance maybe wasn't what people were expecting. Maybe the pricing, maybe the setup of it wasn't what it needed to be. And then you had the attendance at Bud Walton in general. I know we were talking about it, and it was a huge thing of like, why is no one going? Why are they not packing out this place? Well, we just thought it would be because it was John Calipari. Just thought that was the case. Same thing with the media access of even being able to talk to Cal. It wasn't there. You had the Vice documentary and you had some other things with Hogs Plus and stuff, but that was about it. So yeah, maybe there was a little bit of an element, and I'm not taking credit for it or listening to it, but I'm just saying I did go on Paul Feinbaum and over there in Lexington and say that we in the media have not really had talked to Cal and these players much at all, and it's a problem. But I think that there was a lot of people that shared that, and maybe, just maybe, that is, as you guys said, a correction to it, which I will 100%, even 1,000% give so much credit to Cal and to everybody, because it's one thing to, admit, not that you're wrong, but maybe you want to do something differently, but to actually act on it. That would be a really cool thing, because you don't see that from coaches with the egos the size of Texas. And Cal has every reason to have a huge ego. He could just be like, I don't care what they think. I'm going to keep doing me. But if that's the case and they did correct it because of all those things, I think that shows a lot about Cal and a lot about the character and a lot about his desire to not just come in here, collect a check and go home, but really try to connect with people, not just players, not just help the families of the players, for the fans, for the Arkansans, for everybody involved in the program.
Did we talk to a basketball player before the season last year?
I don't remember if we did, man.
Maybe like a preseason post game. You know what I mean? Like, I don't even know. Like maybe after the Kansas exhibition.
Besides SEC basketball media days, I mean, I think, and I don't even think we got to talk to them much at all. But that little 5-10 minute period, I guess, would probably be it. With who is it, Nelly and
Hero, yeah. That was literally it, and that was because the SEC forced them to do it.
And I don't think anybody was available when we were in Pine Bluff, just Cal. But I think the day before in Hot Springs, maybe they had a player or two. My point is, they put 4 guys up there on the podium yesterday. And if they do bring us back out when they start fall practice and they put 4 other ones, well, then we've talked to the entire rotation before the first exhibition game, man. So that'd be pretty cool. Like, you get to hear from every single one of those guys. But that was awesome. I know we were talking yesterday on the show, like, they'll probably send 2 players up there. We said Nick Pringle, nailed it. And we said DJ Wagner, nailed it. But, it's cool. They brought TB out there, showed a little bit of personality, is more than one sentence answers out. So that was good to see. A happy Trevin Brazil. And I was impressed with Malik Thomas. Like, you got a freshman up there with a bunch of upperclassmen, and he was one of the most engaging and well-spoken dudes sitting up there at the podium. So that was good. I love that stuff, man. Get to know these guys a little bit, see what makes them tick, see a little bit of personality. You got TB and Nick Pringle going back and forth at each other there. That's great stuff, man. And it endears the fan base, and it makes them feel like they're a part of what's going on. So kudos to the U of A for doing that.
Yeah, Malik Thomas, I guess that it shouldn't have been that surprising, because, I mean, if you watched it, you watch him play at all in high school, he plays with a lot of personality. There's all these clips, these mic'd up videos of him talking his trash, and you could tell he's a fiery personality. But it's one thing to be a fiery personality when you're a senior and you're on a team that you've been on for a while, and you're a freshman there. There's definitely a little bit of an easing in process, but it really isn't surprising to see him already kind of showing that side of himself, and it's just cool to see it in a Razorback practice jersey, but in a Razorback jersey, see him being that same guy at Arkansas. I think it's awesome, man.
Well, and also to add to that, there's so much, again, 40 minutes of content from Cal that, we could have clipped, and we have the press conference on Inside Arkansas. So if you want to check it out in full, but I think, Curtis, correct me if I'm wrong, Cal talked about Brazil smiling and how he's like, this is a guy that never smiled last year. He's like, he didn't do anything. Now he's smiling. He's having fun. And I'm like, why is that making me feel so good? Why do I like that so much? Like, why is that making me so happy to hear that Trevin Brazil is smiling at in basketball practices and everything too? Like, those are the little things I think even Cal's kind of like. I'm not saying Brazil was intimidated by Cal or anything, but I'm sure it was like everybody had to get used to each other and kind of feel each other out of like, all right. So, because let's be honest, who was Brazil's previous coach? Eric Musselman. Personality-wise, I don't think could be much, not similar at all to what Cal is. I mean, intense, fiery, all of that. That's kind of what maybe Brazil was used to. And then Cal comes in, he's like, is this guy going to be the same way? Is he going to be chill? I think it was just a filling each other out. But, we keep using that word, man, comfortable. Everybody's comfortable. And I'm comfortable. I'm comfortable in saying this team's going to Indianapolis. Already got the dugout rented for our shows up there. We're going to go to St. Elmo's. I mean, it's going to be great. I can't wait.
John found us a nice Airbnb already, so we're
sure,
cooking,
I'm sure
man.
the air conditioning will be working in it too. I mean, it'll be great.
Exactly.
Did we determine whether or not Minneapolis and Indianapolis are the same place or not?
Yeah, I think they're bordering cities. Yeah, it's the same thing like Dallas and Fort Worth. Just same deal. The Twin Cities, I think, is what they call them up there. So
exactly. But no, I mean, honestly, good for TB though.
Yes.
His entire career has been one big kick in the nuts. I mean, it really has. He was a 3-star kind of middling prospect. He goes to Missouri and kind of explodes at the end of his freshman season. And all of a sudden, you've got all this dude's going to be a lottery pick. He's so much better than everybody expected. He's going to be in the league this time next year. And, he comes to Arkansas, and it's just been one thing after another for him. Whether it's injuries, Muss leaves, you got a new coach coming in, you go to the combine, it doesn't go the way you want it to. You're in the transfer portal. Oh, hell, I'll come back. And, then you got this coach who's challenging you in different ways, but then you're stuck behind the best player on the team and he gets hurt. It's just been one thing after another for this dude. And finally, maybe he's just able to breathe. He's healthy. He feels good. He's got some confidence. He's got a staff that's got a lot of confidence in him. And maybe he just finally feels like himself.
And I think for us as fans and observers of the team, it feels like it feels earned. You know what I mean? Seeing Trevin smile, and we'll see what this last chapter of his career looks like. But I think the fact that we've seen Trevin fail before, both on the court had his ups and downs, but also, of course, suffering injuries, suffering setbacks, going through coaching changes, going through a losing season, going to the NCAA tournament. Like, he's been through it all. Seeing him have failures made us more endeared to him as fans and observers. Because, and I know there's some fans who, aren't the biggest fans of Trevin Brazile because of some of those failures or whatever. But I think the fact that we've been able to watch this kid grow up, and now we're seeing him come out of the other end of it. And now by the time he leaves Arkansas, that dude's going to be a man, and that's what's supposed to happen in college. And that's kind of what college sports is all about, really, is watching these guys who come to your school at 18, 19, and then they leave at 22, 23, and they're different people. Trevin is the one guy that we've really gotten to see that full evolution of, both on and off the court. And so I think by the time he leaves, we talk about all these players that we're endeared to and the players we love knowing them. Trevin, we know almost way too much about, honestly. But I think it makes it that much more special. And of course, it's the same for some of these other guys who it's their first, second year on campus. Hell, DJ Wagner, same kind of thing with him. I think, that's what makes it even cooler, getting to go to these types of circumstances and seeing these guys in those settings and kind of seeing a little bit more of that personal side. Because regardless, we'll get to watch him on the court and see how his senior year plays out. And if Trevin Brazile has an awesome senior year, it'll be cool regardless of if we saw him at practice. But being able to see him smile and see his coach talk about him, and because Cal's gotten to see a lot of that evolution as well. And so I think, again, it just kind of adds. It's a very simple concept. Seeing these guys and having more access leads to cool moments, leads us to having a better relationship with them, and it feeling even more earned and deserved when they have good moments and we're proud of them.
Yeah, and I want to bring up some of the clips there from Cal and everything. But before we move on, also about Brazile too. Here's one thing that I've told. I have a friend of mine I won't say hates Brazile, but just doesn't care for his game and whatever. Because I know there's people out there like that. But here's my response to him in that: the things that people hate about college athletics nowadays, transfers, divas, going pro, selfishness, like all those things that rub people the wrong way when it comes to college athletics. Trevin Brazile has not done that. This guy could have transferred any year that he wanted to, and he's going into his fourth year. He's not from Arkansas. He didn't grow up a Razorback fan. This isn't his dream school that he always wanted to play for, and that's what's keeping him here. He could have transferred. He could have gone pro. He could with the coaching changes. He could have done whatever he wanted to do. He could go on social media and flaming things. He could go and have with all these rumors that got started about him. He could have fired off all that stuff. All that he has not done once. And that's why he is on the no slander list for me. And that's why I'm always going to be appreciative, because he stayed at Arkansas when he didn't have to. He has played. He has just gone out and given it his all. His effort has always been there. You can get frustrated if he doesn't play well. You get frustrated, whatever. But you can't sit there and say that of all the things in college athletics that bother you the most, he's the anti-current stage of college athletics. Like, he's been here for 4 years. He's going to have a degree, and he stayed. So to me, that's worth something that I think people really need to give him a lot of credit for. So, but I'll tell you what, we'll play some of the clips, which Brazil's involved with one of them, but also with Cal here in just a second. We want to remind everybody that we're presented by our friends over at Hickey and Hull Law. We know, folks, that divorce and custody cases are far too important to face alone, but that's why you let Hickey and Hull Law provide you with persistent and diligent representation, help guide you through the entire process. The foundation of a strong attorney-client relationship is honesty and trust, and Hickey and Hull Law prides themselves on building relationships with their clients and providing honest, principled advice and representation. So have Hickey and Hull Law help you out. They have offices across the state of Arkansas in Fayetteville, Fort Smith, Little Rock, and Mena. You can call them today at 479-434-2414. That's 479-434-2414. Or you can check out their website, hickeyandhull.com. Or you can even scan the QR code right there on the screen for you. It's Hickey and Hull Law. Things are about to get better. All right, so first one I want to play, and this one is kind of, I think it's fascinating because of last year to this year, and Cal's differences of last year to this year with July and everything. And I thought it was pretty fascinating what he said, and also the times he went to Fayetteville. There's, again, Cal gets asked a question and he answers what he wants to say. And so there's a lot of information in this one, but I love the comparisons of what he was saying from last year to this year.
Last year, you know how it started. We had no team. I had no staff. I said, can I see the schedule? There was no schedule. I'm like, what? And now you bring guys together that did not know each other. And I had a couple from before, but the reality of it is it was a brand new team. Then we get hurt. So I didn't get to do the scrimmaging. And I knew we'd be behind. But at the end of the year, that was the most rewarding year I can remember in a long time. Because they stayed true and they stayed strong. And we just kept tweaking and changing to try to make us good. Right now, you know, you can tell I'm more comfortable. Like, I had to walk in here. I didn't know anybody. I didn't know the campus. You guys understand, I never was on this campus. We went from the Graduate down the back way, and I'm thinking, this is awful.
Which, real quick, what back way do you think he's referring to from the Graduate? That was awful.
You tell us, man. I don't know.
Like, I was sitting there, I'm like, and I'm from Fayetteville, and I'm like, there's no like bad area really of Fayetteville, comparatively speaking. I mean, we went to Lexington. I'm not saying Lexington's a bad town, but there were some areas where I'm like, I don't know if we need to go down that way. But in Fayetteville, there's not that. So I'm like, what's awful back way? The Graduate's literally like a half a mile from Bud Walton.
Right. So he's saying on his way from the Graduate to Bud Walton, he went the back way and saw something weird. Like that definitely didn't make sense to me.
Yeah, I was like, maybe he went by the homeless shelter or something. So saw a guy peeing on the wall or something. I don't know, but either way, I just wanted to stop that for that.
2, that building, and most times it was dark. We came in late, and maybe in the afternoon we'd come down but we went the back way. And I saw, oh, the Clinton house. Look, they got that thing in front. I mean.
Okay, so the Clinton house. You guys know where that's at, right? If that's the back way, what's the front way? Because to me, that's the direct way from the Graduate down there. No one's spending time on it, but it just made me laugh.
So I didn't even know what the campus was. I didn't know anybody, all that stuff. So that playing I'm just more comfortable. And let me tell you, I am so happy and comfortable and at peace with what we're doing and how we're doing it, because we're about the kids. It ain't about this, that. It's about those kids. Now, if we do our job, they're going to lead us to where we're trying to go. And I say it again, it's real, what we're doing. And you can't deny what is, you can say that, and then it is starting, and it's going to go for a long time. I've done this before. The first year is a hard one. The first year is a tough one. Second year is tough too, but at least you're more grounded in what you're trying to do and you feel more comfortable.
So kind of reiterating what we were talking about, being comfortable. By the way, the Calism that Curtis, one of the Calism Curtis posted today from that was in there too. But also I laughed because he's talking about the first year the hardest, which I don't doubt. I'm not denying it, but it's like, man, in Kentucky, it seemed pretty easy then, man. You had John Wall and DeMarcus Cousins seemed pretty cool. Not too bad up there, but seeing that, but hearing his comparisons of just what it was a year ago to now, and like we were just talking about with the press conference and the practices and everything, it's something to where, everything just seems to be where he would like it to be, other than last year, where the more I hear him talk about it, the more I'm just like, golly, maybe it was really incredible that they did what they did with the situations they had with injuries and all of that. Like, maybe it really was something that I didn't really fully grasp and understand how difficult it was for any team, much less a team with Arkansas, where they just couldn't get everybody healthy, couldn't practice. Cal was brand new, all those things all involved.
Yeah, I mean, it's he had the boy cried wolf thing going on a little bit, because I know that's I guess it was like a popular thing that he would say at Kentucky about, oh, we didn't have enough guy, we haven't been able to scrimmage or whatever. And just because he said it before doesn't make it untrue. And it's something that we said a lot in the moment. Like, if doing the 9-guy thing was risky for that very reason, but it doesn't change the fact that it was true. Jonas didn't practice all summer, and Nelly fell off the damn golf cart, and Trevin was in and out with a back, and then he hurt his ankle, and Big Z had his stuff going on. And then you lose Boogie in the middle of the season, and then you lose Thero towards the end. I mean, it was like literally every guy on that roster besides DJ. I mean, you wound up having something going on at some point. And yeah, it absolutely impacts things. And when you combine that with the newness of just not being familiar with your surroundings and not knowing the people that you're working for or working around, and that's a lot, man. It's a lot going on. He gets paid the big bucks or whatever, and hey, he earned that paycheck because they figured it out and they wound up making it to a Sweet 16. But yeah, I do think people kind of gloss over the fact that it was definitely a big challenge there. And Eric Musselman did him no favors. Did you like that subtle shot there? He was like, ask for the schedule. There's not a schedule. What? Yeah, man. Sorry.
I think a lot of times people get excuses and reasonable like explanations confused a little bit. And like, I understand to an extent, like for instance, if Arkansas had not made the NCAA tournament last year, if they really had never figured it out, I wouldn't have said, hey man, like, you not having guys in the offseason, that excuses it. Like, you're fine. We would have been pissed, and we would have deserved to be pissed, and it wouldn't have been a good excuse. You know what I mean? But when you look at the way the year played out, and again, it's always tough when you're in the moment because you don't know how it's going to play out. But looking at how it played out, I really don't look at the offseason chaos and the issues they had with injuries leading up to the season and even injuries into the season. I mean, Jonas Adu didn't really get healthy until like February, basically. Nelly Davis took till about, December, January. We can say, oh, well, you're just making excuses. Well, why did they just randomly start playing better when everyone got healthy and they finally figured out their rotation and Cal finally figured things out? And so I understand, like, we're not in the excuse making business, but when you look at how something played out, it kind of does make sense logistically. Now, here's the problem with that. If you're saying all this, hey, yeah, we've got our bearings. We're having the greatest practices of all time in July, and it's the best thing. You start off slow again this year, it's going to be tough to play that. But again, I think I look at how last year played out, and I think like you said, John, maybe we overlooked it, or maybe it just kind of, it becomes a valid reasoning once you see it play out the way it played out.
Well, and it sucks because, at least for me, I will sometimes go back with my Locked On Razorbacks, and I was talking to somebody. They're like, "Hey, what was your most watched episode of your Locked On?" And I went back and I was looking at a few of the top ones. One of the top ones, and I know why, was when Arkansas lost to LSU on the road, and I was pissed. And I was like, "This is unacceptable. This is crap." And I know why, because the comments are just filled with Kentucky fans. Like, I told you so. Blah. But the thing is, I look back and I watched it, and I was like, man. Knowing what I know now, it's one of those things to where, I don't take back me being upset, but I also, again, for someone like Cal, who has been, in my opinion, and when he's at Kentucky, an excuse maker at times. Well, freshmen, they're young. Well, hey, you recruited them, but no, they're freshmen. I always felt like there was a little bit of angle like that. This dude could have said it all the time about the excuses that he had, and maybe he did make them a little bit, but I guess I didn't pay attention. Maybe I didn't listen. Maybe I didn't care. I was just mad. But that's something that where, this year, the comfort level, as it keeps going back to, that's what gets me even more excited, because I'm like, man, if they were able to do that last year with what they went through to put it together and still make the Sweet 16 and be this close to making it to an Elite Eight with a chance to knock off the eventual champions, not saying they would have, but a chance at it. Like, man, imagine if they have everybody healthy and everybody's great for the entire year and things are going really well. I mean, that's what kind of make me wake up and realize it a little bit. So I'm sorry, Cal. And maybe that's what I need to say. I'm sorry for doubting you. I'm sorry for all the stuff. But no, actually,
I'm not apologizing for anything. He felt the same way, and that's what's funny, because he gets it, man, and he acknowledged it. And one of the things he was talking about there was like, we went 0-5, and some people might be saying, "Oh, no, coach, we knew you figured." No, you didn't. He was like, "I didn't know if we were going to get it right or not." He's asking the staff who had the worst record in SEC history, and he thought he was going to be, last year's Missouri team or something. At the time, they had given us no reason to believe that they were going to figure it out. And we didn't rule it out. We just said, hey, they have done something unprecedented with the worst SEC start in program history. They will need to do something unprecedented to rectify it. And they did. So kudos to him for doing that. But yeah, that's funny that your Locked On was that post LSU game. Our highest viewed Pot at the Palace post game show outside of the St. John's win to get to the Sweet 16 was the loss at Missouri right after that, where they fell to 0-5. Crazy numbers. And I always look at that and I'm like, damn, I know who that was filled with.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Curtis, you make a great point in terms of they didn't give us a reason to feel anything differently. It's like and by the way, if we're talking about the excuses, I don't care what roster Arkansas takes to LSU and what happened leading up to the season. Arkansas basketball should beat LSU every single time they play. Like, that's just a fact. So all of the excuses we can make, that one I actually am not, I don't feel bad for being upset about that, but I think we need to normalize feeling one way, being presented with new information, and then feeling differently. Like, that is perfectly okay. And I know that everyone, is so committed to their takes and so committed to how they feel and their point of view. And, we even have people that are like, if Sam Pittman wins 9 games, I still want him fired. Well, then you're an idiot. You know what I mean? That means you are incapable of changing your mind. That means you're incapable of reacting to new information and adjusting how you feel based on it. And I think that's a very good point that, like, when they're 0-5 and things have played out the way they are, why would we give Cal any benefit of the doubt? Obviously, he's a Hall of Fame coach, but it's like, this is our first go around. We're learning with Cal, and this is we can't say, 7 years ago he had John Wall and did all this, or he had Anthony Davis. It's like, that's not this situation. Now we've gone through a year with Cal. We've seen how things operate. We've seen how he responds to adversity very well. Now, if we're in a similar situation, maybe we will be able to say, well, this kind of reminds us of when they went through that situation a couple years ago and they were able to get through it. So maybe they can, but you can't just blindly have faith and be like, oh yeah, they're going to figure it out no matter what. I think having that ability to see how it plays out, maybe react differently. And now, hey, this year, Arkansas should not be starting 0-5 in SEC play. I'm not going to feel that way if they do it this year, but I think there's something there. It's okay to see something play out and then feel differently about it looking back in hindsight.
Well, I'm just apologizing because with his Mafia ties, I could end up playing, turn on Frank Sinatra's album in my truck, and then all of a sudden I'm a highway, just
Dude, when Malik Thomas said there's a family atmosphere, I was like, oh yeah, there's a family atmosphere. All right.
Yeah. Yes. There's a family. Yeah, exactly right. Also with part of that too, I know I have some other clips. We'll get to the chats too, but I wanted to bring this up as far as our Alumni Hall question of the day, presented by friends at Alumni Hall. It's the ultimate Razorback shopping experience with all the greatest Razorback apparel you could possibly want. You can shop it online, have it delivered straight to your door at insidearkansas.com/alumni hall. Use that code HOGSBY20 for 20% off. You can scan that QR code as well. They got all the Razorback apparel in stock, and they're going to have some new football gear coming up here very soon. So be sure to check it out. It's Alumni Hall. Just which group of players are you most excited to see this Razorback basketball season? I broke it up into 3 categories between the returning players, the new freshman players, and then the transfer players. And so between those 3, kind of of those groups, I know everyone's excited to see everybody because I saw somebody was like, I need a choice to say all. Thank you. But I needed just one. So which of the ones are you guys just excited to see the most this upcoming year?
I have a feeling that Malik Thomas is going to be my favorite player, but my answer is going to be the transfers because it's your 2 big men, and have a soft spot in my heart for centers, for college basketball big men. And I'm a traditional guy, so I like the ones who are tough and mean and physical and have a back to the basket game and kind of that old school skill set. And Ewan can do a little bit of everything, but he certainly brings some of that with his footwork and his post moves. And Pringle is just a brute in there, man. So that tugs on the heartstrings for me. My answer will be the transfers, although I don't think that they're the ones who won the poll, if I had to guess.
I think the returning players won the poll, and they won my vote as well. That is where I'm going. Now, of course, I'm excited for everybody. I'm excited for Malik Thomas. I'm excited for A-Cup. I'm excited for those transfers. I'm excited for this Malik Ewan 3-point shooting showcase that apparently is going to happen this year. But for me, I think it's the returning players. One, because we just talked about Brazil and how awesome it's been to see his journey, and we think he's going to be a huge impact on this team. Of course, I think he is also kind of the key to whatever you think Arkansas's best lineup is. It probably involves Trevin Brazil playing really good basketball and kind of spacing that floor and bringing that threat and allowing one of those other big men, whether it's Pringle or it's Ewan, to really thrive there in the 5 spot. So I like Trevin. I think Carter Knox is another guy, of course, might be the best player on the team, might be the best prospect on the team. And I think we've all assumed so, and rightfully so, that Carter is going to be way better as a sophomore, and he almost certainly will. I think it's going to be one of those things with Carter where he averages 14, 15 points a game and nobody cares because, again, we all expected it. But that's like doubling his production. That's a very notable, uptick in his development, and I think it's a very good sign for him. I'm excited to see what year 2 Carter looks like. I think DJ Wagner, I don't think he's going to be a vastly different player than he was last year, but I love his leadership. I love his mindset. I think he's going to be a very important piece for this team as well. And so I'm excited for and Billy, by the way, I don't want to leave out Billy because Billy, like you said, Curtis, is the guy that's been really generating a ton of buzz during these practices, which I want to, I've been kind of overlooking Billy and kind of, if I look at the pieces on this roster, it's not that I'm not excited about him. It's like he doesn't get me out of bed in the morning, but I'm excited for him to prove me wrong because I have no doubt he will because he's a constant overachiever. And so I think there's a lot of cool things with this Razorback basketball team, but I feel like it all starts with that returning core. And that's part of why all offseason we felt like, hey, no matter what happens, there's a good stability in place there with this team because of that returning group. And I'm excited to see each of them in their own kind of individual journeys because they're all very different players too.
Is it returners or returnees?
It's whatever you want it to be.
I would say returners because like return means like that's like something that you like if you're returning something to someone, that would be like they're the returnee, they're the recipient of that return. You know what I mean?
Okay. I mean,
like if something, like am I using that right?
Whom or
yeah.
Yeah. Who's on first?
There or there. Which one is it? I don't know.
Yeah.
I got out of writing because I don't care about that shit.
I never got into writing because I don't care about that stuff. So, but winning the poll, 69%. Nice. Say returning players is what everyone's excited about.
Okay.
21% say freshman players and 10% say transfer players. So
I'll say this. I think it's a good thing to me that I walked out of that practice yesterday lukewarm just on the 1 hour sample size of what I saw from Carter Knox and DJ Wagner and Darius Acuff. Just yes, we're in there for 1 hour. And I walked out of the gym and it was just like 3 guys who were probably going to be, 3 starters for you that I didn't walk out there just like, wow. I just wasn't just blown away. Didn't see anything from where I was like, oh God, I don't know. But this didn't really jump off the page at me. And I still walked out of there going, man, this team's going to be really good. Because I was that impressed with what Trevin Brazile looked like, with what Malik Thomas was able to do in there. Sure looks like Billy Richmond has gotten a lot better to me. I really like the big guys there. And Isaiah Sealy, anytime I get it, I'm like Bryce Mitchell with a microphone talking about Arkansas. You put a microphone in front of my face, I'm going to be talking about Isaiah Sealy. He's going to be a player for this team. He's going to be in the rotation. He's going to play regularly. I'm telling you right now, the dude looked good. He's not afraid. Yeah, he's got to learn to play without the ball in his hands, whatever. He's good for it, man. He's going to help the Razorbacks.
I thought the coolest moment of the practice, and this is from the video that I watched that you guys put out, was there was one play where he was in there and he was trying to get separation and get open and he couldn't. And, the ball ended up going the other side. And Cal was like, hey, if you can't get open against some of these teams we play, you're not going to play. Like, it's literally just a battle of wills. If you're trying to get open, it's just get open. Like, you just have to be able to do that. The very next play, he creates some space, gets to the corner, catches, drives, attacks a closeout flawlessly, finishes at the rim. It was very clear, like just to see that simple putting something into action and that little kick in the rear that Cal gave him. Definitely, yeah. Isaiah Sealy's a guy that I've been overlooking a lot too. I mean, just I don't talk about the guy at all, and so I look forward to him overachieving and proving me wrong as well.
Yeah, I just can't wait for it all to get going, and then we can all get pissed off after bad losses and excited after big wins once again. It's just going to be great. It's going to happen.
And if they have the slow start and they can't use the first year or injury stuff, they'll be able to point to the schedule.
Yes,
it's like, what'd you expect?
Yeah,
we played the entire Elite Eight. How many other teams did that? None. That's what we're going to be working with if they lose some games early.
I can't wait. Honestly, can't wait. Let's go ahead and get into the chat, folks. And it's presented with the Vibe Check by Basis Health. We know that Basis Health is changing the way that healthcare is delivered by providing mobile medical visits to the comfort of your very own home. A doctor will come to your home for urgent care, primary care, IV hydration, and so much more. Basis Health, they're here for you when and where you need them the most. You can learn more at basishealth.org today. All right, getting into the chats. We appreciate everybody tuning in and jumping in with us. Let's see, guy for Jake over at Facebook, one of those rare Facebook goers. But he says Pringle and Brazil look good. If we can make these threes, we can be a top 5 team. Our defense will be good. We need Wagner and Knox to knock down shots. Can't rely on Brazil and Ewan to be 3-point shooters.
Yeah, I agree. I thought Pringle and Brazil looked good. I thought Ewan looked good. Yeah, I'm no more sold that this is going to be a great 3-point shooting team than I was before I walked into the practice. Like I don't know that I'd call it a concern, but they're just not going to be a team. And we talked about it yesterday. It's going to go out there and fire away a bunch of threes and shoot 40%. They're not going to be like Alabama or whoever does that kind of stuff, right? It's just not really their thing. But can they make enough? And can they do it enough to where you can get your guys who are so good on this team at getting to the rim, just a little bit of spacing out there on the floor? And I think there's a pathway to them doing that. And I agree. Like, no, you don't want to have to rely on Trevin and Malik Ewan to make threes for you. But if they can, that opens up a completely different dynamic. Arkansas's offense got drastically better when Trevin Brazil was inserted into the lineup over Thero, not because he's necessarily a better player than a dude Thero, but just that threat of him as a front court player spacing the floor to where you have to guard him on the perimeter opened up so much for Nelly Davis and DJ Wagner and Carter and Billy and those guards to get to the rack. Same thing this year. If Trevin's doing that, and Malik Ewan, he needs to be doing his work around the rim because he's really good at it. The dude was stroking threes yesterday. It blows me away that he's only taken one in the course of his career. I'm not saying he's going to be Big Z and have 125 attempts this year, but if the dude is taking 1 or 2 a game, that matters. And if he's making them and it pulls a big man out from under the rim, that's a layup for Malik Thomas or Darius Acuff. So you don't have to rely on them, but they can pitch in, and then, Leak and Carter and whoever else can do a bunch of the heavy lifting with volume. I think you really have something to work with. There's a pathway of this team, I think, being pretty darn good offensively.
Well, I think especially because the guards aren't necessarily like a bunch of snipers, you know what I mean? And so it's like you're going to have some of those kind of hypothetical shooters anyway. If you have 5 of them that are all kind of can take threes and can make them, your chances of having the random 10, 12, 3 type of game is huge. Am I correct in thinking Malik Ewan has only attempted 1 3 in his career?
1, and he missed
and
it.
It's like literally just 1 in 3 years or whatever.
It very well might have been like that Jimmy Witt 3-point attempt too, where it's like, oh damn, into the shot clock, I got to take this one. You
think, is it possible, one, that Leonard Hamilton just like banned him from doing it, like was just like, hey, do not ever shoot threes? Like, I wonder if that's a thing. And I also, again, with a lot of these guys, they're all getting feedback from NBA guys. I would imagine Malik Ewan's only path to being a legitimate NBA player is if he has some sort of threat from 3. Zach Edey made like 37 threes last year in the NBA. Like, all of these centers these days, if you're going to try and play in the National Basketball Association, you have to at least attempt threes. And so I wonder if he's just like, hey, let me just try and do it. And I got to say, I'm not saying, I'm not expecting him, like you said, to be this super soaker or anything, but I didn't look at that and think, yeah, this dude can't attempt threes in college basketball games.
Right.
Super soaker. That's a
Hell
good one. Yeah. I was going to say, we do our bowl predictions, our big predictions before season starts. I think I'm going to put together a list of just the predictions that of what people are going to say. Like, for instance, predicting who's going to be the player that everyone says that they need to stop shooting threes. And then the other side of it is who's the player that everyone's going to say they need to shoot more threes. There's going to be one that's going to happen. So there's going to be all of those. We can wait until we get closer to get to season time for all that. But I'm sure there's going to be some opinions on that matter. Shout out to our guy Kingsley. He says, going to be a great show today. Turn the positive vibes up. Yeah, no, Kingsley went through some surgery, man. And appreciate you. Took a picture of him posted up and checking out Inside Arkansas. So hope the recovery goes well, my man. And all positive vibes heading your way.
His ball knowledge is about to go through the roof as his leg recovers.
Yeah, exactly. We appreciate you, man. Showtime Production says, I love the practice clips. Absolutely love them. But can we also acknowledge it's pretty silly to draw any conclusions off July practice session? No.
What do you expect us to do, man?
Yeah.
Here's what I'll say.
I get what you're saying, Showtime Productions, but good grief. I mean, we don't have a damn thing going on. There's nothing going on. So when we get an opportunity like this, we're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about it in depth. And I can't even count on 2 hands and 2 feet how many times I said, hey, it's just 1 hour, and it was one practice of an entire summer. And it's July, it's over and over and over and over and over. We said that, but somebody had to come in here and say it today. Like, we get it, man.
I do think you guys did a good job of not doing the thing where you're like, oh my God, like overreacting. But I will say, it's not like this is the first time this is not the first piece of information we've gotten from any of these guys. They all have careers. They all have backgrounds. They all have, other pieces of information that we know about them. For example, Malik Ewan, we know what he brings to the table as a scorer around the rim, his offensive versatility. Now we're seeing him take threes. And so it's like, hey, that's a notable development. That doesn't mean he's a great three-point shooter, but that's a guy that had not been taking threes, and now we're seeing him take threes. That is a reasonable conclusion to jump to. Wow, that's notable that he's taking threes. And all these other guys, like we saw what they looked like last year. We've heard the sound bites from this summer and heard what they're going to work on. Now you're seeing them, at practice. So it would be one thing if this was the first time we had ever seen any of these guys play basketball and we're trying to make conclusions on their games based on that. It's adding it all together with everything else, because people do this with baseball all the time where they're like, wow, man, you're freaking out over fall scrimmages. I'm like, no, I'm not freaking out over fall scrimmages, but this guy hit 240 last year and struck out a bunch. Now here he is in the fall. He's striking out less. He's hitting for more power. It's like you add it together. It's just another piece of information that's add on to all of the other pieces of information that we have about these guys, and some of it's notable.
Yeah, like who would name a podcast that they would do called Arkansas basketball will go to the Final Four this morning? Who would say such a thing on theirs? Wasn't I? Totally was not me overreacting. But I don't care. Like, what's the worst thing that can happen? I'd be wrong. Man, that would be a first time. Let's see. Also, Tamara says, love the press conference with the players. It was funny when Brazil and Pringle were talking about playing each other and giving their scouting report. Well, how about this? Well, we'll just play that clip because it was a pretty great one.
Guy that got a lot of guys to the league. He recruits a lot of good guys. I mean, they had a great year last year. Even playing them last year was fun. It was fun, but this from our first talk, it was just everything just felt real. I mean, he told me he was gonna put me in uncomfortable positions, and he's actually doing that. He making me do a lot of things that I'm not really used to. So it's been fun, and I feel like I've been getting better from it. I mean, uncomfortableness is not fun, but it's gonna get me there. It's gonna get me where I need to be.
You played against him. What's the scouting report on Pringle?
Well, before I say that, I would say we did send them home. So that game, bringing up that game was wild.
That's crazy.
I think it was he killed us the first time, and the scouting report the second time was physical finisher, probably elite offensive rebounder, veteran, and he's been around. He knows how to play, and he didn't do what he did to us the first time. The second time.
Yeah, so that was like I said, that was just one of those great exchanges that you get to see from all the players and stuff too. So isn't that crazy? I talked about this maybe we did yesterday or on my locked on. It's hard to keep up, but like, isn't that just a very insane image of college athletics in general right now, where it's like you just have like 1 year you got two guys going against each other, hating each other, having these big time games and all that, and then the next year they're on the same team joking about it. Like it's an insane thing to think. But I love seeing that though from the guys of just not taking it too personally, just having fun with it. I appreciate that.
It's good. Yeah, that's some good back and forth there. Appreciate it.
Shane once says, Curtis, any idea who the mystery recruit is that Cal talked about seeing next week?
No.
It's like I said, the recruit could not even exist. We don't know.
Wouldn't be a mystery if he did, huh?
Yeah, it's true.
I mean, no.
Let's see.
It was so we kind of went through a thought exercise on this on the Pot at the Palace this morning. But it's like July here, and he's talking about going and visiting a guy this weekend that he's looking to add who's going to be around for multiple years. So like you can scratch off transfers, I think, because it doesn't really qualify and there's none out there. Maybe a high school freshman, but an incoming freshman, but boy, there just sure aren't really any out there at this point that move the needle. So could it be a reclass candidate? But a lot of those guys reclass because they profile as pros pretty quick. And that's the exact opposite of what he's talking about. He's talking about a developmental piece here, but not a scrub. And so there's maybe because they had staff out there at the FIBA World Cup thing. It's an international player, a U19 international player that Chuck Martin identified or something, and he wants to meet with him. Like, it could be anyone, really. It doesn't sound to me like it's going to be a guy who's going to come in and be expected to contribute a ton right away if he's talking about him being a multi-year guy. But the way he was talking about it almost makes it sound like there are things about his game they really like, but he might have some limitations. So what I'm guessing is it's going to be an undersized guard who can play, if I had to guess. And we'll see if I'm right about that. But no, I have no idea who this person could be.
All right. So also, Heartbroken Hawk says, in the 8 months when Arkansas goes to the Final Four, we look back at yesterday as when we first knew something is different with this team. It's true. That's when it'll be referenced as. At least I'm going to. Let's see. Producer Michelle, I guess, wants to ask a question. She says, is he, talking about Trevin Brazil, the last one we see grow up like this, stay here, or years compared to transferring? Honestly, seeing growth is my favorite part of athletics.
I mean, John Calipari yesterday said, and he was talking about recruiting Tyler Ulis, and but he was basically like, hey, normally if a kid wants to play 4 years of college basketball, I tell him to go somewhere else. Like, you ain't gonna get that here. But it's what he does, man. He recruits one and dones and guys who profile as pros sooner rather than later. It's just kind of his MO. And then at the same time, he was talking about with revenue sharing and everything else being a little bit different, that you need to have some guys in the cupboard that you develop. And that's kind of the philosophy behind adding, these big men that they've added late, this guy that he's looking to potentially add this weekend. And so maybe we see some more 4-year Razorbacks in the future, but at the same time, I don't think you're going to see one like Trevin, who had the type of talent that he did. And, the on and off, but high level type of production that he did, who just winds up sticking it out the way that he has. I mean, it's a very unique situation. I don't think we'll really ever see anything else again like it.
I think the DJ Wagner situation is like the closest, like maybe a 2 or 3 year guy that you're like, okay, he'll kind of be in that middle range. But 4 years, that's gonna be a tough one.
By the way, Showtime Predictor says a photo of Curtis watching practice was so funny. What photo is this? Something
somebody posted a photo and it was like of Curtis and 4 other media members, and it was like this starting 5 could win a game against some college or something like that.
Oh, I guess I missed that one. So
Curtis was dialed in the photo.
Yeah, that's the thing. Is like I got to be when I was sitting next to Curtis during the practice, I'm like, I got to be selective when I ever want to say something to him, because I could tell when he's locked in and does not want to hear anything I have to say, or when he's got a quick second that he can listen and all that. So.
Dude, when you film something at a practice, all of a sudden every media member wants to come have a conversation. I was having to like tell people to shut up in Omaha, because I'm like, dude, I'm sitting here filming, recording, and they're like, dude, what do you think about that? I'm like, dude, stop. Like, I'm recording. Shut up.
Yeah. So basically, folks, if you see Ellis in his hand with filming something, shut up and don't bother him.
I mean, seriously though, it's like, or unless you want your stupid question to be on the video.
That's what I was saying. Like, I understand that, because it's one thing where we all have phones. We all know if someone's holding a phone like this, you kind of know what they're doing with it. So maybe don't go up and just start talking at full volume, because it's like, yes, this phone does have a microphone and it will pick up whatever you're trying to say. So just keep that in mind. Let's see. Also, I want to talk about this a little bit too, but Odell Outside said, is there really a chance of expanding the tournament field in March 26th, which there is a chance. I'm not going to play the whole clip, but I just want to give the first reaction, because this is what Cal's thoughts are on expanding.
Asked about this before, but it seems like there's going to be a vote this week about NCAA tournament expansion. Just wanted to get your take. And
all you needed to know.
That is the correct response to expanding the NCAA tournament, in my opinion. Leave it alone, man.
100%. We will find out if Satan will reign supreme this week.
Yeah, exactly right. I don't like it. It's a very much, if it ain't broke, don't fix it kind of thing for me. I do understand that Division I continues to grow. Like, they continue to add teams, and you want a certain percentage represented in your postseason. Like, I get it, all those things, but who is this benefiting? Who is it helping? It's not the little guy. It's not going to create more opportunities for these mid-major Cinderella darlings that everybody's excited about. If you expanded the NCAA tournament to 72 or 76 teams this past season, think about who would have been in there. It would have been Indiana, who had already fired their coach. It would have been Nebraska, who didn't even qualify for the Big Ten conference tournament because they finished so low in those standings. So when I see that and we can tell, it was a weak bubble, it's always a weak bubble. The last few teams that get in aren't that great. And the first few teams that get left out aren't that great. That's just kind of the way this thing works. So I look at the first 4 games from this year. North Carolina, there's a lot of debate. They were 1-13 or whatever against quad 1 teams. Texas, they had 15 losses, man. They lost 7 games at home. They were in there. Xavier wasn't great. San Diego State got absolutely blasted. Like, did any of those teams really have that strong of a case to be in? And if you expand the tournament, all of them are safely in the field. And does expanding the first 4 and just having like multiple rounds of that kind of thing to get into the 64 team bracket, is that going to create enough hype and enough buzz to generate that much more money or whatever it is that they need to justify this? I'm just not so sure that it does, man.
Yeah, I'm with you where you're going to have a lot of undeserving teams. I mean, there's undeserving teams that make the tournament every year, frankly. I mean, I could actually see a better argument for shortening the tournament if we're taking less teams in there, honestly. But I also agree that it would end up being those 6 and 12 Big 12 teams and SEC teams that would get in, and not all of a sudden the MEAC becomes a 3-bid league, But I'll even go that far. Let's even say that we do add 6 more mid-majors that they're going to add to the field. Some of these leagues do get two bids. Has there been like an uptick lately of 15 seeds making it to the Final Four? Like, I understand there's a Cinderella here and there. It's like none of these teams are like relevant in the tournament. And I know sometimes there's upsets, and those are great, and those are authentic, and those are cool, and those will always happen. Why do we need to make space for more mid-major teams? Because I've seen people make that argument too. Like, we need some of these leagues to be 2-bid leagues. Why? Like who is that serving other than literally just that league, just so they feel important? It's like, if none of these teams are a threat to win the title, which is really what the tournament is about, we're trying to find a national champion. Because in college football, when we have this conversation about expansion, it's like, hey, there might be years. Hell, last year, the national champion, the actual best team in the country, would not have made it in years past. Mm-hmm. I don't think we are currently in a setup where the best team in the country is being left out of the tournament. And I don't even think we're even close to that.
Last year's Cinderella was Arkansas.
Yeah.
They were the only double-digit seed that made the second weekend. I don't know, man.
Well, and also, too, it's one of those things where I felt like that's what the NIT's for. Just if you don't make the tournament, then go to the NIT.
And most of the mid-majors losing that as well, by the way.
Right. And I see this from Jake, and it's kind of what we talked about. But and to your point, Andrew, he says, I think it was being Cardi, and I think you're right. I think I read this. He said he wanted it to be for mid-majors like Arkansas State. He was 25-5. They had a great season, lost in their conference championship. And he didn't think they should be for the powers. Well, the power conferences, first of all, are the ones that have the money. So if they're going to do something like this, it's going to be expanded, and it's going to be favorable for them, just like it is for the college football playoff expansion. Like there's a reason why they're doing this, and there's all this debate about the format and the SEC and the Big Ten demanding at least 4 teams and all these different things. But at the end of the day, if they're doing this, if they are expanding, they're expanding to generate more revenue and to make more money. And is Arkansas State going to do that, or is a crappy Indiana team that doesn't deserve to be there going to do it? Well, probably Indiana. Unfortunately, I like that idea. I do, and I do think it sucks for those teams that are just great all year and fun stories, and sometimes they win 30 games. They just get popped in their conference tournament randomly, and then you're screwed. You're out of there. I don't think that's fair. I think it sucks. It would be cool if they at least got an opportunity to get in that play-in type of game. I would be very surprised if that's what the NCAA tournament selection committee and the chairs who are voting on this have in mind when they're talking about expanding this thing. Unfortunately, I hope I'm wrong,
and I hate to be the SEC bias guy, but I just feel like the guys that are like the media members who are publicly like writing for mid majors, one, I don't think any of them firmly believe that these mid majors are like real threats to go on a deep run, and like they're not going to affect the actual tournament in any way, shape, or form. And it really just reminds me of like the guy who's like, hey guys, come on, don't objectify that girl. Come on, she's a beautiful young lady. Women deserve it. It's like, come on, bro, you're trying to get laid. Like, just relax.
It's a great analogy.
But again, they want everyone to say, "Wow, bro, you're riding for the mid majors. We love you. You're our hero." That's what they're trying to do. Biancardi, and he does a great job. He does not give one flying shit about mid majors, bro. He just wants to get the admiration for being like, "Oh, well, I stood up for the little guy." Shut up.
No, I think there's a lot of truth to that too. So we'll continue to get to your chats and everything, folks. But we got to get into our heavy hitters presented by our friends over at HD Roofing and Construction. We know that storms can hit unexpectedly. And unfortunately, it does happen more often than not here in the state of Arkansas. But when that happens, you need to make sure you got your roof and it is ready to roll and it is ready to take on those storms. That's why you choose HD Roofing. They can provide you with a free inspection, and they can also rely on their professionalism, top quality materials, and expert installation for all of your roofing needs. You can call them today to get your roof inspected at 501-428-0429. You can also check them out online at hdarkansas.com, or you can scan that QR code. It's HD Roofing and Construction. So go ahead and getting into our heavy hitters real quick, because again, I know we'll have some more chats and everything to get into as well. But guys, my heavy hitter is an easy one, and I think that you can probably understand, or at least most people probably can. But shout out to former Pro Hog Devin Booker, as he has officially signed a deal for 2 years, $145 million. I'm no mathematician, but I feel like making just a shade under $75 million in a year for 2 years is a pretty good deal. So shout out to him for being able to get that type of money. People talk about it's a stupid contract or whatever. That's fine. He's the one that's benefiting from it the most. And shout out to him and his agent and everybody for getting it done. That's incredible.
Cal's going to have to update those numbers when he's doing his humble brags.
Yeah.
They're increasing drastically over the course of the last couple of weeks here. Good grief, man.
You know what's crazy is Devin Booker's still like 25 or something like that. Like, 'cause he entered the league when he was like 17 or something crazy like that. There's a lot of cases like this in the NBA where you have these players that are not on a great team, and like Damian Lillard when he was in Portland for a while, and we're like, oh man, poor Damian Lillard. He's there and he's stuck and he's in Portland and he's not able to be on a championship team. And it's like, bro, if you're staying with the team that drafted you, you're eligible for these super maxes. So it's like actually not that bad of a gig. You know what I mean? Like Luka was depressed he got traded because it cost him all this money. He's like, now I can't get that extra super max or whatever. Devin Booker is about to shoot 46 shot attempts per game and make $73 million. It's going to be great. And the Suns are going to win like 35 games, but
yeah,
good for
sorry,
him.
Scotty.
Yes, sorry, Scotty, but that Suns are about to absolutely stink. Anytime your star player gets that money, his motivation just drops a good bit.
Has to. But yeah, he's my heavy hitter for today.
I like that. I like it a lot. Finch kind of beat me to the punch here. He says, was cool once again. Aaron Torres gave Inside Arkansas and Curtis a plug in his podcast yesterday. And I did want to return the favor with AT as my heavy hitter. He does a really good job. And I don't often plug other people's content, but he pays it forward to us quite often. And I certainly do appreciate that. But that's my guy, AT. And he was actually out at USC's open practice and media availability yesterday. So he was checking in on Muss and the boys and was shooting me some text, behind the scenes, telling me what he was seeing over there. And Muss still up to his old familiar antics and everything. So it was good to hear some of that stuff. And he was like, hey, it's like, just so you know, man, anything you put out, I'm talking about it on my show. As I was his eyes and ears there at Arkansas basketball practice. But that was really cool. And it was funny. I texted him this morning, just a handful of things that I noticed. Just wanted to share some other stuff with him from what we saw at practice. And he sent me a screenshot of my text. And, like if you're watching something on YouTube and you go to your text, it's up there in the top corner of the screen. And he was watching the live reaction that me and John did yesterday as I texted him. And I was like, you know what? AT's the man. And we appreciate him. Good people. Keep fighting the good fight over there, sir.
Yeah, Aaron Torres is a stud for sure. And that's cool. That's cool. He's been shouting you out, man, and deservedly so. I mean, if you're wanting to be plugged in on Inside or on Arkansas basketball, which Aaron Torres, of course, is, and he's very high on the Hogs, why would you not go to Curtis Wilkerson? So, of course, my heavy hitter is a former Razorback by the name of James McCann, the former catcher. The Ryder Helfrich 1.0 is what they call him, actually. Shout out to James McCann for one. This is his 11th year playing in the big leagues. And he did not start the year in the big leagues. He got released last year by the Orioles, started this year in the Braves minor league organization. He was playing AAA and like playing every day in AAA too, which like is kind of a kind of a like humbling thing to have to do as a 35-year-old, 10-year big leaguer who's been to an all-star game before. But shout out to James McCann, man. He finally, after playing a while in AAA, got picked up by the Arizona Diamondbacks. He's now played in 7 games in the big leagues this year, which is not a large number, but he's 7 for 20. He hit his second home run yesterday. That is an OPS of 1.269. He's hitting 350. He's drawn some walks. It's just cool to see him kind of have a little bit. I mean, he's not going to have a 5 extra years in the big leagues, but it's cool to see someone who like basically had their MLB career come to an end. And most guys, once they get DFA'd for that second time or whatever, they ended up kind of dipping out. You really just never hear from them again. I think it's cool to see someone fight back to get in the big leagues, which is really cool. Dallas Keuchel, by the way, is another guy doing that. He's apparently about to sign a major league deal, man. I can't remember who it was. He signed a minor league deal with the Royals, but he's in their AAA. So maybe we'll see Dallas Keuchel playing in the big leagues again later this year. He's like 50 at this point. I love that, man. I always think that's cool. Like anybody, if you play 1 minute in the major league, in the major leagues, you're a hero. Like you're of the top 1%. To get there and stay there the way James McCann has and make an all-star game and then get kicked out of the league basically and get told you're not good enough, to keep fighting and keep, preserving your career and staying healthy and trying to get that last little bit, trying to squeeze as much as you can from the lemon. I love that, man. I really love that. And I'm glad James McCann is able to, have another little chapter in his big league career, and he's swinging the bat really well. Good for him. Yeah, no, I love seeing that. And honestly, sometimes I'm like, forget about certain Razorbacks that are in the league itself and how they, like you said, if you're just in it doesn't matter if you're playing a ton. Just being in it is a great thing. So that is awesome. I know we'll get into some more chats and also some of our summer topics, but I want y'all's thoughts. I had to tweet this out. It may happen, guys. I may have to bring my dog Rowdy to SEC football media days next week. Had the sitter that was scheduled to have something come up, and family members are unable to. They're going to be out of town. And so I'm getting to the point to where I may have to make Rowdy the official dog of SEC media days. And so I just want to let you know that, if I have to come home early, it was because that no dogs were allowed. Although they're allowed in the hotel, I checked. But, I don't know. Maybe I risk it and put Rowdy on the table down there in his bed as we hang out. So just leave him in the hotel. Let him order room service and all that. That's what I'm afraid of. He's bones. Get me like 7 bones. I was gonna say Old Yeller, don't do that. Put Paw Patrol or something on the TV. Just let him hang out, let him vibe out. Just the first dog movie that came to mind, No, not a big one for dogs. Oh, dude. no, dogs probably aren't big fans of that. Yeah, just to turn on. Did you guys ever see? It sounds so stupid. This is a deep cut. I don't know why I was a kid, but the movie Lassie, not the show, but the movie Lassie, because Smalls from the Sandlot played like the main character, and it was really cheesy. And I remember it was the first kids movie I ever heard that used the F word, and it wasn't the F word you're thinking of. It was the other F word that's made a comeback for some reason. So, but I remember that as a kid. Random little pull, but either way, I might be bringing Rowdy is the real point. So we'll see how it happens, and maybe I risk it and try to bring him down there into the College Football Hall of Fame, but probably not. He'll just stay upstairs. So if there were any dog that would handle that seamlessly, it'd be Rowdy. Like, Rowdy might freak out or whatever, but not. It's just a very casual dog, in my opinion. And it's not going to be acting a fool. No, he's not acting a fool. He's just, just may pass out. He may it'd just be too much for him to handle. So I don't know. We'll figure it out once we get down that road. But for a few summer topics we'll get to. Shout out to our guy Dre for the super chat. We appreciate you, Dre. But he says, if we are changing anything, make it baseball. Shouldn't be in conference rival first round. Yeah, I guess that's for the NCAA tournament. Doing the reseeding thing. Gotcha. Okay. Oh, of Omaha. I'm tripping. Yeah, I mean, I hate to disagree with Dre, our guy. We love Dre. And Arkansas would have had a better chance to win the national title had they done the reseeding. I still think once you get to Omaha and the World Series, it's like that's just how you play. I mean, because think about it, it's like the Elite Eight in basketball. Would you get to the March Madness if you're like in the Elite Eight? It's like, oh, Arkansas's got to play Florida. Nope, we can't do that. It's like, once you're that into it, I do agree. Like obviously regionals and super regionals, they need to be better about like. Obviously, you have to do it with some of them, but there's like an SEC super. Like half the supers are SEC. Yeah,
And it's hard to avoid. Like, that's the one thing I feel almost bad for the NCAA and all that. Just when you have that many teams from a conference, it's hard to avoid it in some particular cases. So also Kingsley just said, Curtis, looking at the three bigs we got on campus right now after yesterday's work, which two are you most excited to see pair up and why?
I mean, I like the idea of Ewan and Brazil, who I think is going to be the starting tandem in there. There's a lot of versatility, man. A lot of versatility. And what I found interesting that Cal said when he was talking about Malik Ewan yesterday, he dropped the Trey Mitchell comp on him, which he's bigger than Trey Mitchell was, but that was a really versatile player. And then he also said about Ewan that he's a 4-5, and he's strictly played center throughout the course of his career. And for Cal even to just say that as casually as he did, it's like a possibility for Malik Ewan to play some 4. That tells me that they are not against him and Nick Pringle sharing the floor some together, which, yesterday we're kind of like, I don't know how much they're going to want to do that. But after watching them in person for an hour, it's not crazy to think that they could do that tandem at times there because of their differing skill sets and the way they complement each other. If you think about it defensively, that's where it's usually a problem because you're like, oh, two big guys, like, are they going to be able to guard the perimeter? Nick Pringle can. And that's one thing that Coach Cal brought up for him. And I thought he looked really good in pick and roll coverage. And then when they were switching, he was keeping some guards in front. So he could defend as a 4, and Malik Ewan could play offense as a 4, especially if he can step out and knock down the occasional 3. So I think they could do any combination of those guys and make it work. Whereas, this time yesterday, I wasn't sure if they would really be able to do that. So that was one takeaway that I had when I walked out there. I was like, damn, yeah, they actually could mix and match with all 3 of these guys pretty well.
Let's see. Also, too, Jake just won. I guess I don't know. I can't remember if we discussed this or not. But do you guys see Artel getting to play meaningful minutes?
No, not this season. I didn't necessarily think that was going to be the case anyway. But he's out. He's been out with a back injury, and I went back and listened to what Cal said about him, and he's got like a bunch of conditioning stuff that he's going to have to make up. And he said that he was going to be doing it in September. It's like it sounds like he's kind of out indefinitely. I don't know if he's going to return for any of the summer practices that they have left. So, this is a new guy who arrived and was probably lower on the totem pole in terms of being able to crack the rotation anyway. And then now he's missed a majority of the summer, and he's got a bunch of conditioning he's going to have to make up before they let him back into to full practice. Just kind of a rule there that they have. So I think he's pretty behind the 8 ball in terms of being able to get there where he needs to be. And Cal also talked about him. It was something we were wondering about because he's not as big as he was advertised when he committed. He's like 6'6", 6'7", or whatever. Cal said he's a 3. And he's like, yeah, he can play the 4 some, but he's not physical enough. So then you're thinking about where is the hell are the minutes going to come from on the wing? Not really seeing it there with Rattel. Wouldn't be surprised if he winds up as a redshirt candidate, one of those guys that they try to develop for down the road.
Right. Dude, the year's going to be 2075, and there's going to be people asking Curtis if Kareem Rattel's going to have impactful minutes.
Did I handle that well?
Every single week on the show? It's like, what about Rattel? Is he going to really play a big role? And Curtis every single time is like, no, probably not. And he's very nice about it. But like, I don't know how many different ways we can. No.
I'm just telling you, dude. It's a predictability. It goes back to my thing of the bowl predictions we'll have. They're going to be that player's like who's going to be the player that's everyone's getting mad that they're not playing more minutes, and it's going to be Artel. Like he's going to be like, why is that guy not playing? I heard that he could hit 3s in practice, and it's like, why is he not out there? It's going to happen. It's going to happen. So just everybody got to get ready for it, and it's fine. We'll get to more of your chats in a second, but we do got to get to our fun summer topics, of course. Presented by our friends over at Freedom Boat Club of Arkansas. We know that it is summertime out there and it is feeling good. You want to be out on the water, especially some of the great lakes here in the state of Arkansas, but maybe you don't have access to a boat. Well, Freedom Boat Club of Arkansas is going to have you covered because they give you the access to the boats without commitment. So you just show up, you go on the boat with all your friends and family, have a great old time, bring it back, and that's it. You don't have to worry about maintenance. You don't have to worry about cleaning it. You don't have to worry about having a slip. None of that. They take care of it for you. Not only do they have locations in Arkansas, but hey, from Cape Cod to the California coast. In fact, somebody tweeted at me the other day that they use the boat down in Florida, the Freedom Boat Club in Florida, a lot. So it's all across the country, and it carries too. But if you prefer Greer's Ferry Lake here in Arkansas, or Lake Hamilton Hot Springs, or just a day on the river in Little Rock, Freedom Boat Club of Arkansas will help make your summer in the natural state the best one yet. So you can check out their website at freedomboatclubar.com. That's freedomboatclubar.com to learn more about the benefits of joining the club today. So, all right. So getting into our fun little summer topics here, guys, because again, for those of you who don't know, sports, food, and entertainment, dog days of summer, what things we like to have fun with. We'll start with the sports one, kind of going with the Razorback related deal, but sports. What was the most satisfying win in the regular season for the Hogs that you can remember? Not the greatest, not the one that just was the craziest ending, but just the most satisfying win in the regular season.
I'm upset because I try to look at your post that way I just have an idea of how I want to answer, and I didn't do that this morning. But I wish that I could have taken the time to see this question and go and clip the first 10 seconds of our post game in Lexington with me and Andrew just laughing, belly laughing to start the show. That is one of the most satisfying moments of my life, much less regular season Razorback history, beating Kentucky and I mean, good grief, man. I don't know. Nothing I can even remotely come close to comparing that to. That was incredible. Felt great, man.
Yeah, basketball, that one's the big one. And I will say, like, even those, like, we talk about like the Auburn game a lot from 2022, and we talk about these big moments. Those were great. Not even close to how satisfying that Kentucky win was. Like, it's not even in the same ballpark.
Just seeing those stands empty, with 2 minutes left in the game, and just all those sad faces and just people just eating, what, after everything they said about Cal. That was a moment, man, that I will never forget.
My pants are a lot tighter than they were 2 minutes ago. But in terms of, okay, so one, I'm the baseball guy, and I love baseball. Baseball, there's not a ton of these. Obviously, there's been plenty of wins. I mean, Arkansas has had great regular seasons. I think 2021 Tennessee Game 3 was close to that because it just felt like really good. It was awesome to have that moment. You get the DVH chirping at Tony V. All that was great. The one that sticks out to me for some reason, and I don't know, maybe I'm missing a few, but the one that just jumped into my brain, 2015, Arkansas went down to Baton Rouge, and me and my brother went to this game. So I drove down there with a bunch of buddies who were obviously big LSU fans. I think I was a senior in high school this year. And I was tailgating with LSU fans, but I went and sat with my brother for the game. And to see Death Valley just clear out the same way, like you get that's no matter what the most satisfying road wins, when you see those stands just start to clear by the end of that game, and Arkansas beat them. I think the score was like 31-14 or 31-13 or something like that. Like they beat the piss out of them. And this is an LSU team that was like 8-1, 9-1. If they had won out, they might have had a chance to play for a national title. Had Leonard Fournette and all that. And Arkansas, Brandon Allen, Dominique Reed, Jared Cornelius had the end around. Like they just put it on him. Alex Collins had like an 85-yard touchdown. They put it on those boys. And watching that stadium clear out, my buddies almost left me because they had left the game midway through the third quarter. And they were like, dude, we're only waiting 10 more. I'm like, dude, the game's not even over. Come on, don't leave the entire city before the game's over. That one was very, very fulfilling to me to kneel down. No, I'm just kidding. That's the right there. But there's a lot of good football ones. But that was the one that, like, when I think of, like, that was a great moment for me personally.
Yeah, I mean, Kentucky basketball this past year is the easy one. I mean, good grief. I mean, I still remember the feeling I had when I was down there and it started clearing out, and I was the person I was with, they already left. So it was just me and Razorback Red and then the blue that was down there, and just turning around and seeing up in the crowd and looking at the faces of people's souls that have been taken because of a game they wanted so badly. I was just, and knowing that, I'm like, I didn't even care that much because, yeah, I wanted to win, but it's also, it didn't mean as much to me as it did to y'all, and I get to come out of here on top. So that was great. But I will say for football-wise, I think 2010 LSU and Little Rock to go to the Sugar Bowl was definitely up there for me because you just ran it down their throats and at will, and you were just a better team. And as weird as it is, guys, 2021 Texas A&M and Arlington finally ending that, which I know it's the only one you've won in over a decade, and through a decade of it against A&M, but finally getting a win over freaking Texas A&M and Arlington after going that long without it felt so good. And coming off of that big win you had against Texas a couple weeks prior, you're 4-0, first 4-0 start you've had since 2003. You jumped up to being the 8th team in the country, which is, yes, folks, there was a time Sam Pittman had a ranking of number 8 in the country. But just remembering that, man, it felt so good. And that was pretty satisfying for me too.
I would, one that kind of jumped out to me in addition to those was the year before, 2020, when they got their first win under Sam Pittman. They beat that Mississippi State team that had just smacked LSU, and everybody's like, wow, man, Mike Leach has really got it figured out here. But if you just think about all the circumstances there between, like, you just had the back-to-back 2-10s, and it was brutal. It was horrible. You're the laughing stock of college football. You get Chad Morris out of there. Sam Pittman comes, and it's like, oh, yeah, we don't know if we're playing football because of this pandemic thing. And then it was, oh, well, we're going to play, but we're going to do this 10-game SEC schedule. And it's just like the deck was stacked against you again. And then they went out there and got that one. I remember some of those losses they took under Chad Morris, and I was just, just make you want to rip your hair out or something. And you just didn't know how it was going to go that first year for Pittman. Those got so many unknowns, and we had much less access than we had ever had before because of the like the regulations and everything. You couldn't have a bunch of people at practice and all that. So we just had no clue. And I don't think anybody thought that they were going to go to Starkville after what they had just done and beat that team. And the way that they shut them down there was that was awesome. In terms of satisfaction, that felt really, really good for me personally.
That really was a great one. I remember spending that one with my immediate family and like it just being a good moment in our lives. I'm changing my answer though to 2010 LSU, pour some sugar on me. Joe Adams catches the bomb over Tyrann Mathieu. Kobe Hamilton went Kobe Hamilton. Morris Claiborne nearly died because his safety targeted him while he was trying to tackle Kobe Hamilton, beating them to go to the Sugar Bowl and then playing pour some sugar on me. And it was like in that moment, it felt like the Bobby Petrino taking Arkansas to the big stage, which, I mean, he did. And that was a very good moment in time.
Man, that's twice in a row now. Ellis has just stolen mine. I mean, that's pretty crazy, man.
Snipe you.
Crazy. Yeah. Yeah. Well, this time he sniped me because I already said it, but then we'll just agree to disagree.
I'm just changing. I just thought about it for a while and I was like, no, actually that one really was.
That one was good.
I kind of forgot about it.
There's so many LSU wins that stand out,
My entire list is LSU wins, if I'm being honest with you. Like 08, that was sick. That was really great.
Yeah. Let's see. Also, I just like this real quick before we move on to the next one. Just Dalton Motorsport says, y'all turning the show in the Airbnb after that Kentucky game, instantly laughing hysterically, stuck in my mind. Yeah.
The best part about it was that was not planned. It just happened. Yeah, because I think about totally different circumstances. But I remember walking to DJ's dugout after Arkansas lost, to end the season there a few weeks ago. And, Andrew just being like, I really don't know what to say. Like, I don't know how to open this show. And I felt the same way for different reasons before we started that Kentucky one. And you get the minute countdown or whatever, and then the intro. And I just thought about the whole time. I'm like, what we just experienced. I just couldn't help it. The laughter just started coming out, and Andrew was cracking up. That was that felt good, man.
Yeah, let's do that again this year. How about it?
Yeah, I like the way that sounds.
Yeah, probably won't be in an Airbnb in Lexington though, but we'll still have some fun with it no matter what. Okay. Also, what was the food and entertainment one for food, guys? What is the best leftover food of all time, in your opinion?
For me, it's pizza, which I'm getting ready to have a slice after the show here. Yeah, I think it's pretty clear pizza for me. I don't know if you guys are cold pizza people or not. I'm happy with cold pizza. It's good warmed up. Some things just don't play as leftovers, but I think pizza definitely does.
Pizza's like I would say like the standard, but I think my favorite leftover food is wings. For some reason, just a day after, I feel like they just kind of sit there for a while and you got them in the nice little box. Wings are like almost better the next day. I don't know what it is about wings, but wings are very good the next day for me.
Man, Ellis just keeps reading my tweets and taking them. Wings for me was mine as well. So But no, I don't know why. I don't even reheat them though. I just eat them cold. There's something about it. It's just easy and convenient. So listen, you can't go wrong with a lot of different ones when it comes to leftover foods. But it's a matter of convenience for leftovers for me. Do I have to like put it back in and reheat it and go? It have to be a certain temperature, or can I just take it out of the fridge and eat it out of the box?
Well, that's what I was going to say about pizza is like, I'll be honest with you. And obviously like, yeah, cold pizza is like, you can make it work. And there's a lot of people that actually prefer it that way. Some specific types of pizza, if you microwave them, it kind of like ruins it. Cause now they're like a little floppy or whatever. Sometimes with pizza, I literally will put it in the oven and just, 350, 4 or 5 minutes, kind of get it warm. So it's still got that crisp to it. But I want to actually change my answer. There's a restaurant in Alexandria, Louisiana called Mandarin. And, it was this guy that and his wife, him and his wife had a restaurant in Alexandria, and I forgot the name of it. But then they got a divorce, and so then the wife went and made Mandarin. She was like, "I'm just gonna make my own," because I feel like I was a secret sauce. She was right. Mandarin was way better than the other place. It was called the Wok. The Wok was the other one. But their tiny spicy chicken, I would always get. They give you the biggest platter ever, and I always knew this is going to be leftovers for 3 days. And it was great leftover. It was my favorite leftover.
That's actually a great pull. Getting some takeout Chinese and having the leftovers the next day. That's really hard to beat. That's up there.
Yeah. No, that's good too. And finally, the entertainment side of things. What is the worst movie you've ever spent money on to see in theaters?
Ooh.
Like one that you didn't go because you were forced. You didn't go because someone bought your you went. You were like, I want to see this. I'm paying to see this, and it was awful. I'm gonna give you mine.
I saw a pretty bad one not too long ago called Materialists. It was really bad. Did not enjoy myself there. I'll tell you, there was one of the Hobbit movies. I think it was Desolation of Smaug, and I wasn't big on Hobbit, Lord of the Rings. Like I read the books, I watched the movies, I played the video games. I liked Lord of the Rings a decent amount. But then, like I was in junior high when those other movies came out. Actually, I guess I had just gotten my license because I remember my buddy driving me. My buddy John that y'all met. We had gone with a group of our other buddies who were like obsessed with The Hobbit. And when we left the movie, the other two buddies were like, "This was so sick. I love this so much." And I remember when me and John got to the car, I was like, "Dude, I hated that movie." And he's like, "Thank God, I hated it too." And like we just could not stand it. That one comes to mind. But I don't know, man. I'm one of those guys, like, it's hard for me to really dislike a movie, especially in the theater when you're sitting there, you got the popcorn and all that. But those are two that come to my mind. Materialist a few weeks ago and Hobbit, Desolation of Smaug.
I was glad you didn't take mine here, Ellis, but Star Wars Last Jedi, man. Worst one.
Dude, Rise of Skywalker's worse.
No. I agree. But the experience in the movie and the fact that I was so excited for it, because I knew that the Rise of Skywalker was going to be crap. And I went into it like thinking it was going to be great, and it was so bad. When I saw Princess Leia become a superhero and fly through space, I knew. I was like, I'm out of this.
You like the Mary Poppins bit, bro? Come on.
Yeah, Mary Poppins. Yeah, Mary Poppins going through. So, yeah. So before we lose Curtis, Curtis, do you have an experience that you remember just in the theaters?
Yeah, man, I'm pretty easily entertained. I'm kind of the same way. Like I can watch anything and get a little bit of something out of it. I see Kingsley said Blair Witch Project. I think that was my answer the other day when we were talking about just the most overhyped or whatever that didn't deliver. And I definitely remember that. I was super excited to go watch it. And then I got there and was like, this is actually really stupid. So that would be up there on one that just didn't do much for me. And I didn't necessarily spend money on this because I was too young. But when my dad would come down, we'd meet at my grandparents in Jonesboro, and we'd always go to a movie on the weekends. And a lot of times we would go to something mutual or something he'd want to see, whatever, or we go to like a damn Disney thing. But I begged him for like 3 trips that he came down to take me to see Good Burger.
Yeah.
And he finally did. And it just, I mean,
not a theater movie.
No.
That's a DVD rental movie is what that is.
And I love orange soda too, but it didn't do a whole lot for me, man.
Hey, Good Burger was great.
Oh, bro.
Dude, you had you had Sinbad in it. I mean, come on, how could it be a bad movie with Sinbad in it?
Oh,
I actually have one more suggestion. this is also a nerd one as well. And I'm really thinking about like the expectations, because a lot of times you go see a bad movie, but sometimes you have an idea that you're going to go see a bad movie. Thor: Love and Thunder, the most recent Thor movie. The reason I was so upset after that one is because the previous one was like one of my favorite movies I've ever seen. Thor Ragnarok is like in my top like 12 movies ever. And I had a buddy, one of my best friends, I had like told him we were meeting up in Ruston, and I was like, dude, go. I was like, watch Thor Ragnarok tonight, and then tomorrow we'll go to Thor: Love and Thunder. Like you don't really need to know that much. It'll be fine. And we went and saw that in the car ride home. I remember just apologizing to him because I'm like, dude, I had no idea this was going to stink. Like there was no way of us knowing. Like the previous ones had been so good, and like I thought this was going to be good. It just didn't work. And it wasn't the worst movie I've ever seen, but relative to expectation, that was one of the biggest disappointments I can remember having at the theater, and like on the way home being like, damn.
Yeah, no, that was another bad one too. Yeah, there's quite a few that we could go through it all and see. But I tell you what, before we get out of here, we'll go ahead and get into our few chats before we close up shop, and shout out to our friends BetSaracen with the BetSaracen app, #1 sports betting app in the state of Arkansas. You can check them out at betsaracen.com or download the app on your iPhone or in your Android. It's the #1 sports betting app in the state of Arkansas for a reason, because it is the best. So check it out today. Let's see. Kingsley just said, speaking of food, did y'all ever try the deep fried or air fryer Uncrustables? Ellis?
I have not. I haven't bought Uncrustables in a minute. I do love Uncrustables, but I have not. Like they used to be like a regular in my freezer, and they have not been lately. But next time I do get some Uncrustables, I'll air fryer them up.
Okay.
I learned a lot of things about Andrew's food preferences when we were in that office. The way he handled his Uncrustables and that situation had to be like the perfect temperature, whatever it is that he does with Airheads before he eats them. I just learned a lot about Andrew, man.
I learned a lot about Scotty too, because about every 9 minutes out here.
I can relate to that one. But
yeah. Well, I also laughed too of what was it? Was it? I guess you had to have them outside the freezer for a certain period of time.
Yeah, once you get their Uncrustable, you gotta like let it thaw out a little bit. Sometimes I'd put it in my pocket so it'd like speed up the process because it's warmer in your pocket.
Jeez, I've never even had an Uncrustable in my life until I met Andrew Ellis. So, yeah, it makes sense. Also, Dub Prod said, just wanted to say thanks to John and Andrew for taking a picture with me in Omaha DJ's dugout. Woo Pig Suey. You're welcome.
Yeah, Dub Prods.
Yeah. I don't know. Did he introduce himself as Dub Prods? I don't know if I remember that, but we appreciate it though, regardless.
You don't think this is the woman that no, this isn't the woman, because the woman just wanted a picture with me. It was not you. So
dude, Ellis just used that just so he could bring up the fact that like, oh, I'm sure it was actually no, I'm sorry. Yeah, the woman just wanted a picture with me. You just use that as a complete excuse to bring that up.
I realized about 3 seconds in, but yeah, I definitely wasn't upset about bringing it up.
That was one of my favorite things, is just because knowing Ellis, when this attractive woman, older woman comes up and it's like, can I get a picture with you? Because my husband is a big fan. I was like,
Ellis, prime age, man, too. I'm talking about the perfect age range.
Ellis was doesn't matter what happens the rest of the day. Ellis is going to be in the best of moods.
We were walking around Bomb. I think it was during the Texas series, one of the games that I went out there, and some dude noticed Andrew and was like, oh, can I get a picture? And I was like, I'll take it for you guys. And so I took the picture for him, and we took about 3 steps after that. And Ellis looked over at me. He was like, that must have been humiliating for you.
I was like, yeah, get this random schmuck to take the picture. That'll be good.
Hey, everybody's got their own likes and dislikes, I mean, it's just the way it is. If be the same way that if Curtis had a basketball game, someone want a picture with you and you made Ellis take the picture, it's
I would never do that to Ellis. Never.
I would gladly do it. What do you mean? You'd just be from a low angle, but yeah, I'd get it.
Yeah, exactly. Few things real quick, baseball wise, actually. Alex says, Ellis needs your take on Steel Eve's ranking. Here's his stat line in the summer: 0 ERA, 4 SV, 6 2/3 inning pitched, and 8 strikeouts.
Yeah, Steely's been playing some good ball out in Santa Barbara with the Foresters, which is like basically the Razorbacks AAA team. Good on Steely's, man. I mean, he pretty much his last like 4 or 5 outings during the actual season, all of which were in low leverage situations, he did a great job. Fills up the strike zone, has not walked anybody, which is huge this summer. Getting some valuable experience, man. I mean, he's now pretty much thrown more innings this summer than he did during his entire freshman year, which is, that's big time experience for someone like that. And I think that's gonna serve him well going into a sophomore year. Gage Wood is a former Santa Barbara Forester, so it's like I'm not saying he's going to be Gage Wood, but there's definitely a track record of Razorbacks going out there and having a good summer. We do about every week we do a summer ball update. It'll probably be Friday. It'll probably be tomorrow that we'll do the summer ball update. Today we're going to do some MLB draft stuff, but we've been talking about Steel Leaves a good bit on the show and some other summer ball performances. So check that out. Also, I don't think you can classify pitching and not giving up runs as raking. I don't think that works.
Also, any word on Joey Votchko is what Tanner wants to know.
Yes. So, this is the number one player left in the portal, the number one pitcher. He's the number 2 overall player in the portal among everybody. Big time draft guy for next year, like a potential first round pick. And he's like the ultimate, like if you look at his numbers, you'd be like, damn, why do we even want this kid? The stuff is definitely there. And so he's a very hot commodity. This time a week ago, everyone thought it was between Arkansas and LSU, and everyone believed Arkansas had the leg up. I still believe Arkansas is the team to beat out here. I think Arkansas is in firm position. I'm not 100% convinced that he is not already a hog. Like, I'm not 100% convinced that isn't the case. I've had people even this week reach out and be like, hey, it's a done deal. He's a hog. There has been a third team potentially enter the mix, which never makes you feel great. But that third team would be Tennessee, who did add a pitcher yesterday, which, it's a relief pitcher, not a starter, so maybe doesn't mean anything. LSU, by the way, is hosting another transfer starter this weekend, which, again, doesn't disqualify them from the race, but that kind of tells me they're bowing out. I think Arkansas is the team to beat for Joey Volchko, which would, again, he would be their highest-rated transfer. He would be their highest-rated pitcher. He would be – it would be back-to-back years Arkansas got the number 1 pitcher in the portal, which I feel like is notable. He's not as proven of a commodity as Zach Root, but he might be more talented than Zach Root, which is actually saying something because Zach Root might be a first-round pick. And so look forward to breaking that one down in the next few days.
All right. Well, fellas, any final thoughts before we roll out of here for the day?
No, I think I'm good today. I'm good. I've successfully delivered all the thoughts that I need to. Good to go.
Well, if y'all like that basketball practice, you're going to love fall camp. We're not going to have CC. He was going to be our top receiver, so we're going to have to find some other options, but we're going to have a good football team now.
Yeah. You know what's bad is I actually meant to bring up that CC because it was significant news, but we just got to talking basketball and other things. It kind of got by the wayside.
Next man up mentality.
Yeah, man. I don't know if that says more about me or more about the state of things, but either way. Hate to see that, though, for real. But either way, we may bring it back up and get back into the good football talk tomorrow because I know that's what everybody wants to do. So either way, appreciate each and every one of you listening in and watching into Inside Arkansas. Be sure to subscribe to us here at Inside Arkansas on our YouTube page. You can also check out our audio podcast wherever podcasts are found, whether it's Inside Arkansas Live, Pod at the Palace, or the Bombastic Podcast. You can also check us out on social media at Inside Arkansas. So that'll do it for us. For Andrew Ellis, as well as Curtis Wilkerson, I am John Neighbors. Same sports show, same sports channel tomorrow at noon. Have a great rest of your day, everybody, and we'll see you then.